I'm going to turn my mic on for however long it will actually work.
That's fair. Go ahead and kick us off whenever you feel like it. Is
All right.
I, oh, you're very quiet.
Am I really that quiet?
Oh, you're a little bit quieter than you usually are.
There might be some shouting, so that's probably a good thing.
Okay, we'll keep that then. All right. Intro, go.
Welcome, everyone, to Books, Buddies, and Blanks, the book club podcast for the people who want to read but feel like they just don't have the time, and where you get points for trying. I'm your host, Maggie.
And I'm your host, Theresa, and on today's episode of Books, Buddies, and Undercover Boss, Odysseus puts his people to the test and cleans house.
Okay, a little bit of background. We did post something last week, but we had a major technology mishap, so it is not up. So instead of just doing the section that we said we were going to do, we just decided to finish the book.
Yeah.
And since we're pretty sure everyone who watches this are people that we know in real life,
We're good.
we don't have to suffer the consequences of our decisions for this.
We're fine. Yeah. And if anyone is listening to this, if anyone's listening in the future, then you know what? They have all the leeway to read at their own pace anyway, so
that's true.
We're good. All right, so we've got 17 through 24 to discuss, which is a big chunk.
Yeah.
Big chunk of information. Except it's not.
It is,
like,
okay.
It isn't, it isn't.
It isn't.
Yeah, like, it's a lot of text, but it's a lot of, like, Odysseus being long-winded, and then someone else being long-winded, and then someone else being long-winded.
It's very cinematic. Like, it doesn't... When I was reading this, it didn't feel like it took a long time. Because it was read like a movie in my head. Like, it kind of, like, once you if the book finally got to a point for me where I could just read it.
Yes. It was kind of within these last few books that it reminded me truly that this was a story of oral tradition. Like, it was meant to be dramatic, and I'm sure whoever was, like, performing it at the time was probably, like, getting really into it, you know? It was probably very dramatic to, like, actually watch be performed.
So, I do talk to my mom a lot about books I read because she actually has an English degree. But I was saying, it's like, you know, I feel like I understand modern day cinema more, and like a lot of stories that were built after this in how it's structured and how things are framed, because the way things were placed in the, like, do you see images when you read? Like, you get to a point where you don't see words and you're just seeing an image?
Yes, I just start to play it in my head. Like, what would this look like if if this was a screenplay and I was translating it as a director? Yeah.
It felt like a screenplay. Like, I actually think the movie of this, I hope it stays really... There's not much you can deviate from in this book because it's already set up perfectly for a director.
I will say...
Like, this is placed here, this is placed here, like... And then it just rolls.
Right? Like, there really isn't that much left for interpretation here. Like, it's just sort of, like, on its face, like, here you go. Here you go.
I feel like earlier in the book, where it's him recounting his adventures, I feel like that is what is mostly left up to interpretation.
Yeah.
But, like, this last bit, it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe we're just being simpletons, and we don't have degrees, so we don't really see the deeper picture.
Maybe. Actually, okay, so there was one line here that killed me. I was sitting here giggling to myself, Because, like, there's no way
Which
that's
chapter?
actually happening. I gotta find it. I want to say it was in 19 where he's talking to Penelope. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
okay, yes. So there's this
you
whole
think
bit where...
mine
Huh?
chapter 19.
Yes, chapter 19. It starts around line 602 in my translation, or 603, where Penelope starts to recount this dream she has of these geese. Um, and so I'm listening to it, and I'm like, wow, this is like an English teacher's, like,
Wait,
dream.
I also highlighted this
Yes, because I thought it was
dream
very
sequence.
interesting at first, because the way my book is laid out, like the first chunk of text is like at the bottom of the right page, where she describes the
Yeah.
dream, right? And she's like, "There's 20 geese, and this eagle comes down and kills them all." And I'm like, "Oh, that seems pretty obvious. You know, the geese are the suitors, the eagle is your husband." I'm like, "Oh, clearly, there's not much that like I don't think he's gonna need to help her explain much more." And then I turn the page, and literally in the dream, the eagle's like, "The geese are their suitors. I am your husband." And I'm like, so the visions just explain themselves now? Like, you didn't need anyone to interpret that, ma'am. The dream itself
Well,
interpreted it for you.
I have something. I I have someone interpreting who interprets this dream for her. She's talking to someone in mind.
Well, she's talking to Odysseus. Because, like, she's like, hey, well,
Yes, she is.
but, like, no, he's still pretending to be old beggar man. Um, but she
Yeah.
describes the dream. And in the dream, she describes the eagle being like, hey, here's what's happening in the dream. And then Odysseus is like, yeah, that's it. I was like,
Oh,
what?
Odysseus actually tells her like it's in such a way. So in my version, it's like he says it in such a way that like it's like how you're saying. It's time Odysseus reveals himself. It's like okay, so after he reveals himself to Penelope,
Yes.
and well, after he reveals himself to Telemachus,
Yeah.
after he reveals himself to Penelope,
Yeah.
pretty much each person, it's like he tricks that he like taught like kind of approaches it like, oh hey, I'm actually someone else and I'm talking about Odysseus, and then it's like,
Yeah.
psych, I am
It's
Odysseus,
me.
and it
Get pranked.
it repeats. He does the same thing over and over again. And finally, when it gets to his wife, and she's like, he's revealing himself to his wife, she's just like, I don't really
I don't
want
buy it.
to risk. She doesn't buy it at first. And then he's just like, woman,
He's like,
seriously?
come on. And she's like, no. Prove it. I love it.
Thank God he has a very distinctive scar.
Right? I was saying that too. Because, like, it was after, like, the 5th time, he's like, the scar proves it's me. I'm like, that's a really good thing that he has a very distinguishing scar and that Athena hasn't been hiding it. Like,
I know. Really good thing.
I was like, this is...
Also, he like described in detail how he built their bed.
Yeah, I was like, okay, got it. I mean,
The
cool.
bed's made from an olive tree, in case anyone wanted to know.
Yeah, he carved it from an olive tree. It's in the song, Would You Fall in Love with Me Again? He describes it there as well. If you want a more concise version.
I still need to listen to all of that.
Oh my
I
god, you
should.
haven't? Maggie!
I know. Now that I'm done with the Odyssey, I will. I will.
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
didn't want to get.
The Ithaca saga is, I think, the best. Because you've got the challenge, which is Penelope being like, crap. Explaining her whole situation and like deciding to actually do the challenge with the arrows and the axe. And then you've got Hold 'em Down, which is pretty rough because that's all about the suitors plotting to kill Telemachus. And then you've got Odysseus, which is Odysseus actually slaying the suitors, which is such a baller song. Then you've got what's it? Oh, I'm blanking. Oh, I feel bad. It's the song with Odysseus and Telemachus where they finally reunite. Um,
Such a touching. Actually, those are really touching moments in the story.
it's the song gets me. I get a little teary eyed. Um,
Also, I love that basically the SWAT not this yeah the swineherd and the cowherd
yeah, they were pretty
are like
baller.
basically uncles, and
They are.
after the slaughter, they're just part of the family.
Yeah. Oh, it's. I can't help but wonder.
There's very little distinction after
Right. It's one of those like it
after
takes a.
everyone dies.
Right. It's very much a. It
It's
takes
the
a
goat
village.
herder. It's the goat herder
The
that.
goat herder sucks, but
Oh my god.
the cow herder, and the goat or the pig swine, those guys are bros. They're cool.
Hmm.
Screw
The
the
goat herder
goat herder.
sucks. It was so funny because what made me think of Undercover Boss is like
Yeah.
obviously Odysseus is specifically disguised to go in, but then it feels like he's purposefully inciting drama.
He
Like
yes,
he'll
it's
go
like
up,
yeah.
he purposefully presses buttons to make the suitors react. And even though this is one thing I didn't really get, is like even though he already knew he was gonna kill all of them,
Mhm.
he was trying to fish out who is actually a decent person and who wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. No, okay,
It was so weird. And then and then the test of the bow. Okay, I looked up a double torsion bow.
ugh, yeah.
The amount of weight
Hmm.
that you actually have to have, like, I can't imagine the amount of strength that this person actually has to have in order to just string the bow
Yeah.
and shoot it, because it's double torsion bows are like they're weird. They're
Yeah.
weird specialty bows, and they're hard, clearly, because that's why there's an
Yeah.
entire chapter.
Yeah, no, I watched
That's
a
why this. That's why
yeah.
this is the test. Penelope knew that no one could actually do it
Yeah.
until except Odysseus.
Yeah, no, I watched a video once on like how to string that kind of bow, and it is really it takes a very interesting kind of technique too that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
imagine it's a lot harder with animal gut as the string instead
Mm-hmm.
of.
Yeah. Real quick, I need to run to my complex store. My medication just got delivered and it needs to be refrigerated, so I will be right back. Entertain the masses, Maggie.
Entertain the masses how? I don't talk to myself very well. It's mostly all in my head. Theresa, when are you coming back? Oh, good. Allergies. So, so a double torsion bow is a type of bow that usually utilizes two bow limbs that are stacked together to increase power and stability, but because of this, if the bow's stronger, you actually have to be stronger in order to do it. It's such a weird looking bow, too. I want to see. I think it's also really interesting how archers are some of the most valued people in the books. Because if I recall, Paris, which is the same, who is the equivalent of he who should not be named,
I'm back.
is also an archer. And he is the one who killed Achilles with that fateful bow shot.
Whoa,
So I think,
what's happening? What did I miss?
Oh, there was a moment of silence because I can't actually talk to myself out loud very well. It's all in my head.
Ah.
So I grabbed my phone and I looked up the definition of a double torsion bow to recite to the master, to recite. And then I was like, yeah, lots of muscles, lots of strength.
Yeah.
And then I went on to, and I'm repeating myself. It's like, I think it's really interesting how archers are some of the most valued members of like pretty much any army, because
Yeah.
Paris, who wins the not wins the Trojan War, but
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
fails.
he's one of the heavy hitters.
Yeah.
He's an archer, and
Mm-hmm.
he kills Achilles.
Yeah.
I keep saying Achilles because that's how it was written in my
I mean,
translation.
it's fine. People know what you mean. Same guy.
It kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit better,
I think it does. Achilles sounds better than Achilles.
in my opinion.
I agree. It's a shared opinion.
Paris in my translation is Alexandros, which is not easier to say.
No, it's not.
But I just think because like in Bollywood films too, with completely different culture, I know, but in a lot of the period, some of the more like period pieces, they also, I think it has to deal with their deity. One of the deities is an archer. So archers are held in high regard, and usually the hero is some form of archer, or he gains the ability to be a great archer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, archers are...
Granted, this is just going off of like the few Bollywood movies that I've actually seen on Netflix. But that's my impression. Is like I feel like it actually has to do with the deity in that tradition.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting because you kind of see the same reverence for archers in the Greek epics.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Anyways, I was gonna mention before you mentioned the dream.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that Homer, he really, pretty much from the beginning of the beggar of Odysseus approaching the manor.
Yeah.
To the slaughter, he really wants you to hate the suitors. Like every single piece. Because the suitors, even though they tried to kill Telemachus and you annoyed with them, it's like, yeah, but like being bad house guests doesn't really necessarily mean you want to kill everyone. Yeah. Why does he kill everyone? And then he's like, you want to know why Odysseus is going to kill them all? Here are all the reasons why Odysseus is going to kill them all.
It was comical just how much they were like, and they're bad men. So bad. I was like, this feels like a telenovela. Like, this is comical.
Because they kill his dog.
Okay, bro, we're not talking about the dog. We're not talking about the dog.
Why aren't we talking about the dog?
Because he's a good boy.
He was a good boy.
He just died.
He
died because Odysseus came home and he's like,
moment of happiness. Because it was so sad.
I was too
Honestly,
sad.
I was really pissed at Homer.
Yeah.
I was beat.
On my week.
And like, I thought it was really interesting because I was talking with someone about, I think I was talking with you. I've had this conversation with a couple people now.
Yeah.
Where we were talking about how, so Odysseus like kills someone.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But the suitor's killing the dog. That's what's gonna get people really enraged. And I feel like because Homer specifically put in the my mic is like crap.
Oh yeah. Your mic is crashing out.
Okay, we're done with the mic.
Okay.
We're done with the mic. I don't know what's going on. Like,
yeah, I'll look into it. I'll see what I can find.
Yeah, I thought it was a good deal, and apparently it was a good deal that was too good to be true.
Yeah. And I think it makes sense though, because you see it a lot too in like movies and books, and it's a big trope in D&D that like if a DM, yeah,
there's a whole series called John Wick where
I
the
mean
guy's
yeah,
dog dies.
yeah, but it's a whole bit in D&D where like the DM, like if you really want to drive home how evil your villain is, have them hurt an animal or kill an animal, and suddenly everyone's it's
Yeah,
like us with the human
like,
trafficking. It's like if you want to get us invested, you gotta
like,
hurt
okay,
children or animals.
you seriously need to put the fact. I really need to stress the fact that this is all fictional. YouTube. This is
It's
fictional.
just
This is not
fake.
real. Please don't flag us.
We're talking about
We don't earn any money.
a
We
D&D
also don't
game.
want to be flagged as problematic people.
No.
Yeah, it is like it
Mm-hmm.
is like that. It's like in order for you guys to actually do anything, I needed to harm innocence.
Yeah, because then that really kind of proves to us that these are bad people, you know? And we're like, all right,
As
now we're
if
locking
killing
in.
people, it's like, okay, well, killing someone should be enough of a reason to
Ah,
see these people as bad people.
ah, not scary enough.
But I thought it was really funny because I thought that was obviously I almost teared up when I saw Argus die.
Yeah,
But then the
no.
more I thought about it, the more I thought it was really funny that Homer is driving home so hard how evil these suitors really are. Like they're not just bad house cats, they are life ruiners and they hurt people and they hurt dogs.
They hurt dog. They
And
hurt
I think
dog.
even 4,000 years ago, they probably felt the same way,
Yeah.
where
They're like, oh, you're trying to kill my son and assault my wife? I mean, I am angry, but you hurt my dog. Now you're
mm-hmm,
all gonna die.
mm-hmm. And it was not just hurting the dog. It
Yeah.
was using the dog and then just discarding him.
Yeah, it was just being mean, being an abusive. I wouldn't say owner because they didn't own that dog, but like being abusive towards an animal and just letting it.
It wasn't necessarily, it wasn't abuse, it was neglect.
It was neglect, yeah, which is a form of abuse technically, but yeah,
Yes.
no, not cool. I don't like it. Yeah.
But, yeah.
I will say one interesting piece of interesting epic musical lore is that the writer Jay, he purposefully left Argos out of the entire story because he couldn't do it, which is fair. He's like, we're just gonna pretend the dog
There's
is
so much
not real.
emotional damage here.
He's like, I can't put the dog in here.
Which I think is funny
It was
because
funny.
you would think that the tragedy of being away from your partner for over 20 years, and
Yeah.
Penelope even says, like, you can kind of feel her hurt. You can definitely, her hurt and
Oh,
pain
it's so
comes
real.
across
It's so real.
so real because she's like, these are the moments that I should have been spending with my husband, and instead you chose to do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's still faithful. She still loves him.
Yeah.
But, like, that hurt just didn't go away.
No, this is gonna need some very, very real therapy. Like very real.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What therapy?
Right, in this day and age? No. But also, it would be cool if they got that. Um, I have a quick.
Therapy,
Yeah.
apparently, as we see, therapy comes in the form of Zeus saying, "Girl, enough. Just end the story."
I cannot get over the fact that Zeus is just like, I don't care anymore. I didn't care before, but now I super don't care. We're done. End
Well,
it.
what I thought was really funny is that, um, not funny. Not coincidental either, because I think this was very purposeful, is the story ends with a meal and a peace, essentially a truce.
Yeah.
And it ends the same way as the Iliad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. which is very neat.
Clearly killing people's sons was a huge problem.
Yeah. Speaking of dead people.
Oh my god. The death march to the dead island.
Freaking Agamemnon getting the freaking last little bit of screen time that he can.
It really was like that. It was, oh my god.
I was like, this bitch again.
It felt like I was seeing it as a sitcom. And it's like they all died. And then flash over to, and then all of a sudden it cuts to Agamemnon talking to Achilles. And he's like, man, you hear what happened to me? And Achilles is like, man, you sucked. You should have died in battle in the field of victory, but instead your wife killed you. Which, in case anyone didn't know, except for, also, we have the one and only brief mention of Patroclus in this book.
Which I have to say, I don't know how it was described in your translation.
He literally was just like, yeah, Patroclus is also chilling in Elysium. Essentially what it was. And then anyway,
because mine had a bit more than that.
Mine did not.
Ooh, mine did. Okay, so I'm just gonna read mine very briefly.
The beginning of Warrior's Farewell, right?
Yeah. It's lines like 78-ish where it starts. And this is Agamemnon telling Achilles what happened to his body. He's like, oh, we did all the games, and then we burned you. And he said, once the gods of fire had burned your corpse to ash, at first light we gathered your white bones, Achilles, cured them in strong, neat wine and seasoned oils, which I don't know why, but okay. And then your mother gave us a gold two-handled urn, a gift from Dionysus. She said, a masterwork, a famous smith, the god of fire. Your white bones rest in that, my brilliant Achilles, mixed with the bones of dead Patroclus. They're in an urn together. That's all I'm saying.
Mixed? That's not in mine.
Yeah,
at all.
In my translation, they're buried together.
Oh wait, no, never mind. They are.
Yeah. I'm starting to think I understand now where the ship comes from.
I for sure understood where the ship comes from. I just don't ship them.
No, it's fair. I just read that. I was like, oh my god.
Not, like, in my mind, it's I know this is such an unpopular opinion.
Well, I mean,
but it's just not a ship for me.
No, I get it. And I'm not about to be like, you have to, don't you see they're gay? You know, like, I'm not going to force that on you. But like.
No, and I don't want to seem like I'm, like, condemning people for thinking, oh, they're. Like, no, it's just, I don't...
No, I get it. They're fictional characters. It's not that deep to me, at least. I'm not...
Fictional characters? I actually think, oh gosh, there's a line. There is a line. There is a line. You perished, but your name will never die.
Yes,
it lives to keep all men in mind of honor forever.
I also highlighted that, because I was like, yes, we still talk about this bitch all the time. Achilles.
Pretty much, that's pretty much as close to immortality as you can get.
Oh my god, speaking of people saying things that go down in history, or like continue being a thing. Oh god, I have to find it. So, Penelope being demure and mindful. My translation says demure in regards to Penelope a couple times. And so I'm just like, yeah, demure and mindful. It's when he's talking about his dad.
I mean, not that I don't think... So, Penelope is an interesting character to me.
Oh, I found it.
Because
yeah.
Part of me, I really like that she is one of the only strong female characters we get.
Yes.
Along with, I mean, in our minds, not in canon, in our minds, Helen too.
Helen's a boss. They're sisters.
They are?
Yeah. Yeah, Penelope is a Spartan princess, technically.
That makes sense.
Yeah, she's a badass.
That actually makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah.
Anyways, I like that Penelope's character is strong and steadfast. And that's her whole point, is that she is the hero of her own story. and she's doing everything she can to take charge of her fate. And successfully staves off hundreds of men from trying to marry her.
Yeah.
Like, she's a boss, don't get me wrong. I got annoyed with the crying.
Yeah, she cried a lot. But to be fair,
Like,
I feel
every
like if
single scene
my
she is in, she cries.
which I get, but like at
Even
the same
when
time,
she meets Odysseus, she cries
yeah.
tears of joy.
I think it's because one, she's super depressed. Depressed people cry a lot. I would know. And two, then she's just like overcome with joy and happiness. So I get it. I get it. After 20 years of thinking your husband's dead,
I don't understand crying for 20 years.
I don't know, man. I feel like if James disappeared tomorrow, I would be crying for probably a decade.
You knock on wood right now, Missy.
If my husband disappeared, I would be distraught. No, that's all. I relate to Penelope. I get it.
Yes, but after 5 years, I'm coming for you, and we're getting your life back together.
Okay.
You get a 5 year. You get 5 years. You don't get 20 years.
Fine.
You get 5 years to be absolutely, utterly distraught, and then you can have that hole in your heart, but you're getting a life together.
Okay.
5
Okay.
years is the limit, girl.
I found the line I'm looking for. So it's back in Penelope and her guest, so book 19. So she's talking to Odysseus, and Odysseus is describing what is he describing? Oh no, it's the nurse. She's having flashbacks of like Odysseus growing up, and she talks about where he gets his name. And so my translation in line like 462, it says, "So let his name be Odysseus, the son of pain, a name he'll earn in full." And I'm like, damn, way to curse a baby. Like, did you have to? Did you have
Kinda.
to? Oh
it was foretelling. Okay, what have we known is that years ago, every single person has gotten a prophecy about Odysseus.
No, for sure. It checks out. It's just sort of like,
And
damn.
even and as we see, even Odysseus, when he was born, it was foretold that he would have a lot of pain.
Also,
have a lot of pain and cause a lot of pain.
Yeah, that's true. Also, I just fact-checked myself because I didn't want to be out here spreading false information. Penelope and Helen were cousins. Helen's sister was Clytemnestra.
Ew.
Yeah, I knew the three of them were all related. I thought they were all sisters, but...
The one who killed... Clytemnestra is the one who killed Agamemnon.
Yeah, the one that his wife killed him. You know. In case anyone forgot.
Did we mention that Agamemnon got killed?
Did you know Clytemnestra killed her husband Agamemnon?
I feel like we haven't.
We have not talked about this enough, really. We should have a whole separate podcast. Like the Oresteia being a whole separate play.
I mean, Agamemnon, that whole that's written by Aeschylus, not Homer. So I don't know why Homer.
Right. I honestly.
Was Homer buds with Aeschylus?
It must have been. Here's what I'm thinking. I'll have to double check the time periods because I'm pretty sure Aeschylus wrote his play much later. Like, they're not contemporaries.
Oh, yeah,
and so it's probably more so that Aeschylus was reading the Odyssey. It was like, we didn't talk enough about Agamemnon getting killed by his wife. Let's write a whole 3-part series.
It's like Homer wanted this to be written by someone, and he's like, hint.
Wouldn't that be a cool story?
Hint.
Yeah.
Did we mention?
Did we mention? Anyway, but I thought that was really funny the way they're just like, we're gonna give you a name that means everything's gonna go bad for you.
I also thought going back to Agamemnon talking to Achilles, it's so funny to me that they're just chilling on the dead land. They're in dead land, and they're just chilling, talking to each other, and then all of a sudden, these suitors, who are led to the underworld by bats, by the way.
Furies is usually what they're called, but yeah.
It's a bat, but I
No,
have
it's super
bats in
cool.
mine. Where's my bats? Yes.
Bats.
He waved them on, all squeaking as bats. Well, oh, never mind. It was just an animal analogy.
Yeah.
Is that what you get for reading? Yeah.
Yeah, it was Hermes who was like, "Hey, all right." But yeah, I love how they show up and then they're
They're
like
just like, whoa,
they're
hey.
like, "Who killed a bunch of
dead
hot young men?"
here. What happened?
Well,
And they're like, Odysseus happened.
Which like
And they're like, oh yeah, we love that guy.
Which would have been the simplest way to say that, but instead, this dude spends 2 full pages hashing everything out, and I'm like, this could have been an email. Like, you didn't have to just explain that much detail. But yeah, I do love Agamemnon's response of, hell yeah. We love that guy.
They're both just
happy
like,
for him.
hell yeah.
And I love, because they describe it
At
like...
least you got killed by Odysseus.
Right, and not your wife. But I love how they're all just like, it was terrible and horrible and so bad, and then they're like, ha, nice. Good for Odysseus.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Like, rip. R.I.P. you idiots.
Yeah.
Why would you court his wife?
And then you go to, oh! Also, okay, one thing I thought was pretty uncalled for, and Telemachus did this, and I was like, damn, where did this boy get such savageness? Father. But he goes and hangs he goes and lines the women who slept with the suitors up, and then just ties a rope and hangs them all at once.
Right? I was like, this is a little messed up. I don't know, a lot messed up. Like, bro. Like, their only crime was sleeping with them?
They were traitors. They slept with the enemy.
Right. And I was like, that's kind of like...
They weren't virtuous, Theresa.
I know, but like, still, dang. I had something... Oh, that's right. Okay, something I wanted to say, going back to, Odysseus, like, testing everyone all the time. It was really giving for me those, I don't know how on internet trends you are, but there's been this trend over the past, like, 5 years of doing, like, boyfriend tests, where, like, they'll get a friend to, like, slide into their boyfriend's DMs to see if he, like, might cheat, you know, or, like, they set up these elaborate plans to, like, catch someone potentially doing something bad. And that's what it reminded me of. Oh, it's super toxic. It's super not okay. It's really messed up.
Would you do that to your boyfriend?
Right. That's full insecurity. Like, you need therapy. Most decent people also think this is disgusting behavior, but that's what it reminded me of. Like, just Odysseus out here, like, I need to test everyone to make sure they're loyal and they still like me. Well, that's a little dramatic, bud.
Yeah, it's really dramatic. I did think so. One of the things I thought was interesting is that when they met at the very, very end, because they have communion with each other. Like, the family has communion. They have a meal.
Yep.
At a simple farmhouse.
Yeah.
And then the men whose sons were killed.
Yeah.
The people that rallied, they go to meet them to fight.
Yeah.
And it's like when Athena ends it with the truce, it's like they end on even ground.
Yeah.
There isn't the power play of them meeting Odysseus in his manner. They meet him in a setting of humility.
Yes. Especially after he, like, bathed the halls in blood, you know.
Okay, do you know how much blood has to be on that floor?
They
have to be stepping in just puddles.
The whole time I was reading that chapter, I was like, I can smell this, and I don't like that.
Homer's very descriptive.
Yeah. I was like,
So, one thing I didn't really understand is how do they clean that up? Because he mentioned that it's packed earth. Because not everything is, like, floored.
Yes.
Like, obviously there's a second floor, but, like, the first floor, I think, is all packed earth.
Yes.
And, like, how do you clean that up?
You know, you kind of just gotta let nature take its course, I guess. I've never had to
But
clean
then
blood off of
you
dirt.
in your house.
It's like an open, typically it's like an open space. So it's, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't. Also, so when Odysseus is still a beggar and he sleeps in the manor
Mm-hmm.
before the fateful day
Yeah.
when he dramatically, which I thought was really funny, like after the bow test, he just draws another arrow and just shoots at Antinous. Like
I
no one saw
love
it coming. It
that.
was so dramatic.
Is so good.
So dramatic. It was
So
very satisfying.
dramatic.
I will say, like, it was a satisfying death for Antinous.
Antinous sucks.
It suck.
He sucked, and I'm glad he got shot in the neck
Oh,
with an
look,
arrow.
the guy next to Antinous. You're
Yeah, that guy also sucked.
you're a something.
Yeah, that
It's a
guy.
you're something.
It's a long
You
name.
are, er, you know who I'm talking
I
about.
do. I also just
He's
learned.
like the second in command.
Yeah, I also just learned the back of my book has all of the character names along with their pronunciations, who they are, and like what lines they're in. So give me a second. I'll find him. He's in here.
Okay. Well, okay, so that guy I thought was okay. Sometimes in my mind, it's like even the person who's not overtly evil is sometimes more evil than the evil person.
Yeah, that guy sucked more than somehow more. Oh, here it is.
Because he tries to present himself as a good person, but he's not a good person.
Okay, my
He's very
translation says that it's pronounced Eurymachus.
yeah, that dude. He sucked.
He
I liked
sucked.
he was the next to die.
Wait, his little blurb here in the pronunciation glossary is one of the two leading suitors, son of Polybus, and killed by Odysseus. Thank you.
Really? Would not have
Thank
guessed.
you for telling me.
But so Odysseus sleeps in the freshly cut, slaughtered sheep's skins.
Yeah.
You know how smelly that would be?
I was thinking about the scene from Star Wars Episode 2, where he's on
Oh yeah,
Hoth and
Planet
he.
Hoth, where he slices open the creature's
Yeah.
stomach.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, ooh,
He's
warm.
actually done stuff like that to survive.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense. And he was a sad, little cold man, just in rags.
Well, I see a lot of tropes that like from the New Testament, from Lord of the Rings, where you have an heir come home and restored,
Yeah.
and a person who comes into his own manhood, and the Gandalf vibes.
Gandalf.
Brilliant. Gandalf vibes.
Yeah.
It's like the Wandering Pilgrim. It's interesting. Like, a lot of things that I know in pop culture and a lot of things that I read make sense now.
Yeah, you start to see the tropes and where they kind of probably stemmed from, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Penelope had a really funny little bit to herself that she brought up like 3 different times, I think, where she says, I don't refer to her as Troy, I call it Destroy.
What?
And I was like, shut up, Helen, you're hilarious. Or Penelope.
Weird.
I'm trying to find the first place she does it in my translation. Because every time she did it, I was like, haha, you're funny. Oh god, where is it?
Well, I don't think Odysseus married her on looks alone.
Oh no, she's smart. She's smart. They call her sensible and demure and wise a lot in my book. And cunning. I honestly think Penelope and
It's
Odysseus.
actually cunning to be married to Odysseus.
Yeah, I think they were very well matched, honestly. Especially when like she starts testing him to be like, you know, are you really my husband? And like I could see the banter starting where he's all like,
Oh my goodness. Because he does that the very last thing when he goes to meet his father. It's like he
Yeah.
could have just done a simple, "Father, I'm home."
It's me,
Instead, he
Papa.
pretends to be a beggar again and is like, "Oh yeah, heard of this guy Odysseus."
He's pretty
And the father's
cool.
just like, "Ah."
The amount of times he's just like, man, that Odysseus is real neat, huh? And everyone's like, I miss him. He's like, it's me. It's so toxic. I'm like,
Well,
dude, you
and
need to
like
chill.
now well, you see a lot of homecoming scenes in, I mean, modern media, but also in a lot of other things. And it's like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you have that thing where like people look on the people staring at another person
Mm-hmm.
before. You know what I'm talking about? It's like they watch them from afar.
Yeah.
That whole cinematic sequence.
Yeah. No, I get you. Where is? Because I have notes. Why am I missing them?
This is what happens when we don't do book by book breakdowns.
No, we've been all over the place today, and to be fair, I've had a very busy day, so my brain is just trying really hard to keep up, I think.
To be
Um,
fair, all these the last third of the book really melds into one big chapter for me because he's on
yeah,
Ithaca the entire time.
yeah,
You don't have the different islands to differentiate the chapters anymore.
okay, I found it. So it's back in book 19. Clearly, I had a lot of thoughts about this chapter.
Clearly.
And for me, it's line 299. So she's talking to Odysseus, and it's like where she first starts talking to him. And she talks about how, Odysseus is gone. She goes, Odysseus, never again I will embrace him, striding home to his own native land. A black day it was when he took ship to see that cursed city, destroy, I call it. I hate to say its name. And I'm like, oh, destroy, destroy. Clever. I liked
Trying
it.
to see. You said 299?
Yeah. So it's like just before line 300 in my translation. And then she says it like 2 other times, and I don't know where those are. I wrote them down, or I made a
Yeah,
comment, but
earlier.
oh, she does it again at the very end of book 19 as well. Where she again is like, man, he's gone, he's dead, he'll never come back, and he's sitting there like, babe, it's me.
I don't think I have that
And
in
then I
mind.
think no, he didn't. I thought it was really funny though when I read that line. I was like, oh ho ho ho. Penelope out here with her jokes, her hee-hees and her ha-has.
I can't find it anywhere.
Interesting. I wonder if it's a translational thing, where my translator is like, what if we just had a funny bit?
Our translators, I think it's okay. One thing with both the Iliad and the Odyssey, it's interesting to see the. I feel like the tone is still very similar between the translators, but there's certain things like where that you can tell they focused on where like Fitzgerald focuses a lot on the meter and the flow.
Yeah,
And even if it's not, obviously not every translator is going to make it translate it word to word because that's
yeah,
not necessarily a true translation.
yeah.
Like word for word isn't necessarily a true translation. There's so much more that goes on in the translating
Oh
process
yeah,
to bring the translation that we
yeah.
read.
Language
So
is
it's
much
been
more
really
complex.
yeah, it's been really interesting to see the differences because Robert Fagles translated it for a much more modern audience than Robert Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
And both were in the 20th century.
yeah.
The Fitzgerald is earlier than the Fagles. I think it was in like the 30s or 40s, and then Fagles is in the 90s.
Yeah.
if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken.
I'd have to double check, but yeah, I believe.
Because there's certain things that it's like I feel like Fagles pulls the punches a little bit, and then
Mm.
certain things that I feel like is are emphasized more. I can't say right now,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of the the word choice,
Yeah.
it's is really different, even though similar tone, very different word choice, and I think
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, my copy was translated in 1996.
I was correct. That was the year one of my someone
Huh?
a lot of people were born in 1996. I'm having trouble now.
You're like, well, man, a lot of people born that year. Um,
I know a lot of people born in 1996. I'm like, wait, you can't just say one person.
yeah. All right. I don't have too much more thoughts personally.
Which is
Um,
funny because
yeah.
this is like double the section amount that we normally do. And I feel like it's so much shorter
Yeah.
than we normally talk.
I don't, yeah. I guess like last couple thoughts I have are like one, I don't know if your translation was this way, but my translation, Odysseus was like really harsh to women. That wasn't his wife.
My translation wasn't that harsh. He wasn't that harsh to women.
He was kind of very like threatening, and I was like, bro, they just work for
I
you
did not
too.
catch that. I didn't really catch him being really harsh to women.
Yeah, it might just be my translation. I think, yeah, probably. And then,
He's obviously very harsh to a lot of other people,
yeah,
but like
yeah,
not specifically to women. I mean,
yeah,
the only women that he is obviously like the women he condemned for sleeping with the suitors,
yeah, yeah,
which I don't understand. You're here to proclaim your undying love and desire to marry Penelope, and then you go and sleep with another woman.
yeah. They didn't seem like the
How
most
does that
upstanding
work?
men. Yeah,
Um,
not
I
cool.
don't really understand how that one works.
I don't either. I was also like, really? You guys are here to try to get her to marry you, to woo her, to seduce her, and yet you're just sleeping with the serving women? Seems a
See,
little counterintuitive.
this one I really is like that one is like, yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. Because like Menelaus having needing an heir, because we
Yeah,
had that discussion earlier in the book
yeah,
with Telemachus visiting Menelaus.
yeah.
And like having that conversation, like that makes sense to me. He needed an
Yes.
heir. Helen couldn't have any more children.
Yeah.
All they had was a daughter.
Yes.
Makes total sense. It's not necessarily a love thing. It's a I need an heir thing.
Yeah, it's a
This isn't
lineage
an I
thing.
need an heir thing. This is an I clearly can't keep it in my pants for however long it takes to court this woman.
Yeah,
Like,
gross. Gross.
it was just weird.
Yeah. The other comment I have is I thought it was interesting how like the second he sets foot on Ithaca, he's all like, I gotta be secretive about this. No one can know it's me. But then he
Well,
also
Agamemnon warned him.
yeah, but also yes, but like at the same time, I love that he like every single person he talks to, he's like, it just has come back. He's come back. He's here. He's coming back. Right? Like I'm like, bro, chill. Don't you want it to be a surprise? But like everybody, he's like, it is just coming back. And I'm like, you're not great at this art. This whole like art of surprise.
Well, clearly he was because no one believed that he was Odysseus.
Well, that's true, but I just thought it was funny that he is just like telling everybody that he's coming. He's coming.
Well, he didn't have a herald.
He didn't. He didn't. Good point. Good point. As a king, he does need to be announced. All right. I think
What did you like? So, what are your overall? How did you like this?
I think I enjoyed this a little bit more than I enjoyed the Iliad. If only
Really?
because I'm a big adventure person, and so it being like a scope of like a larger area, whereas the Iliad like really just took place in like one battlefront, and it was a little confining to me. It was really enjoyable, but like I enjoyed this a bit more. I like adventure
Like you
more.
felt like there was more
There
movement,
was more movement.
more physical
It was more
movement.
dramatic to me.
Oh
There's
yeah,
more
definitely.
like more
As
whimsy to
dramatic
it.
as the Iliad is, the Odyssey is definitely more
So
dramatic.
it gave me telenovela vibes a lot. Um, I was watching a Chinese short series drama the other
Oh,
day,
which one?
and I think it's called. I haven't finished it. I have like 15 minutes left. Um, it's called in the English translation, right? Is She Slept, They Wept. Um,
Oh wow.
it's very
Quite the title.
is so dramatic. It is giving telenovela in the best way, and like the whole time I'm like sitting there. My husband called yesterday while I was in the middle of it, and I answered the phone and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "Man, you sound really somber. Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was just in the middle of this Chinese drama. Brother just found out that his cornea implants came from his sister." It's like kind of a bummer moment. She's in a coma. It's a whole thing. Like it was just so dramatic, and that's what this gave me. It gave me those vibes where I was like, yes, everything's
So
so needlessly dramatic all the time. Like everyone's responses to everything is over the top, just
I
way over the
like
top.
that. I do understand where you're coming from because,
Yeah,
like you, I'm a fellow Asian drama lover.
yeah.
I'm the one who got you into Asian
You
dramas.
are in. God, I love that that happened. I love my stupid dramas.
Well,
They make me
here's the
happy.
thing. Here's the thing. I I don't know what it is about American television that I don't like ever.
No, I get you.
I think wow, gosh.
There's something about.
I don't really like any modern television shows.
No, agreed.
I
A
think
lot of
the
them are
last
kind
one
of. Mm,
it's mostly my favorite shows are mostly foreign. And my favorite American show, like live action American show ever produced was Firefly.
ugh, yeah, yeah.
And that was in the early 2000s.
Tragedy. I really like animated movies and shows more than like anything live action.
Yeah,
I
I like
love the
animated stuff
the art of animation. You'll have to let me know if you actually read Scaven or watch Scavenger's Reign because I think you'd really like it.
I will.
The more I've been thinking
But
about it, the more I'm like, I think she
certain
would like it.
I think I already mentioned this. Like
Yeah.
now that I've read the Odyssey, a lot of cinema makes more sense to me.
Yes,
Like
like
a lot of the way a lot of storytelling makes sense to me. Like
mm-hmm.
now that I've read this, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this this is what set a lot of I think the Odyssey, obviously the Odyssey, since it's more famous than the Iliad,
Yeah.
really just sets the tone for storytelling for the next millennium
It,
to
yes. Yes.
millennium plural.
Right, yeah.
Um, what's the plural of millennium?
Millennia?
Millennia. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why that wasn't coming to me at this moment.
No, it's there.
Um,
So it's an odd word to have in your repertoire.
millennia.
Yeah.
It sets the tone for storytelling for millennia,
Yeah.
and it's still like there's so many shows now that I'm like, oh, this is structured in this way.
Speaking of movies. Oh, man. There is a line in here. Here it is. I flipped to it immediately. This is fate. It's back in book 19. Penelope and her
Wow,
guest.
you really
Damn.
vibed with book
I really
19.
did. For me, it was line 129. And he says, while talking about his fake backstory cover, he says, I'm a man who has had his share of sorrows. And all I could think was, it's a man of constant sorrows.
I am a man.
I started just humming that while I was reading the rest of that book.
What line is it?
For me, it's 129. So it's him just talking about his fake backstory. Which, like, bro really doubled down on that fake backstory. He was, like, committed to it.
Well, he says that in an earlier chapter too, when he's talking with the swineherd.
Yeah.
It was a very similar.
It's just a same-ish story. It was
same story.
Yeah.
Not the same line, but similar vibes.
Yeah. He definitely kind of committed to that particular backstory, which is good. You don't want to be too confusing with your fake backstories. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed the Odyssey. It's reading it in its entirety, unabridged, has definitely given me a different perspective on it. I'm getting a lot of the tiny nuanced bits that were lost when it was abridged.
There's so much nuance, and there's so much connected to everything.
It's.
Want to start a cult? Yeah. Let's start a cult. We can commit heresy.
What? What? Wait. Where did this come from? Why are we starting a cult?
That's where my mind jumped to. It's connected to everything. Oh my god.
Egg theory. Jesus.
I liked the Iliad better than the Odyssey.
That checks out. You really like more drama.
And I think I said this in one of our earlier filler episodes too. It's like the more I think about it, the more I like the Iliad more than the Odyssey.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Not that I did like that there was more physical movements in the Odyssey. I didn't like that the map was essentially useless.
Yeah. Bad map. Bad map.
I did like that, and I liked a lot of the survival aspects of it. And just like how that reveals human character. A lot of revealing of human character.
Yeah.
Don't know. One second. Let me collect my thoughts here for a minute. What about the Odyssey? What about the Iliad that I like more than the Odyssey? Other than just, I like it more.
One thing that I did find frustrating about the Odyssey is,
Odysseus?
I mean, he is kind of irritating. It was more so the non-linear structure of the storytelling. At first it was kind of cute, but then it became a little much, and I was like, all right, come on, guys. Come on, let's...
Yeah, it did become a bit much, but I thought, I thought it was interesting because you see a lot of how oral tradition was passed on with the story within the story.
Yeah.
It's like you saw the people gathered around in the parties and the feasts, and this is how the story was passed on. And so I thought it was a really interesting homage and really blatant self-insert.
Yeah.
I don't think the minstrel died when Odysseus killed the suitors either.
No, he got to live. The bard lived. The bard lived, which I thought was funny. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, Homer. The bard lives? Everyone but the bard, huh? A little on the nose, buddy.
There was a point in the Odyssey when it's like, okay, and I think we hit it.
Yeah.
In this section, is like, once Odysseus landed on Ithaca, I'm like,
all right, let's
wrap this up.
Right, let's wrap this up. He's home. Homeboy's here.
It went on for a little bit too long. I didn't feel that way with the Iliad.
No, that really makes sense. I feel the opposite about the Iliad. I felt like it wrapped up way too quickly.
Yeah.
And I felt like, it had a much different... It was very much like, and now it's done. I was like, oh.
I liked where it ended. Don't get me wrong.
Same. But
it was such... It was
very
abrupt.
Ending
was so emotionally impactful that it did feel really abrupt that it's like...
Yeah.
Ends here.
Right, it's like, everyone's dead. Yeah.
I think one of the things with the Iliad is that it's not just the story of Achilles
Yeah.
and in his story, it's the story of why people are fighting.
Yes. It is
And
yeah.
and how do you reconcile this?
Yeah.
How do you reconcile such horrible violence?
Honestly, this kind
And
of I'm
because that's
sorry.
the ending.
Sorry to
The
cut you
ending
off.
is this coming together and
Yeah.
communion and
Mhm.
this moment of forgiveness for
Yeah.
the ultimate sacrifice that these
Yeah.
men paid. And there was I that tugged on my heartstrings more.
Mhm. No, I get that.
And there was also this sense of growth. There was this sense of character growth
Mm.
in this. There was in more than one character.
Yeah.
In Achilles, well, obviously Achilles is the obvious example, but also in
Yeah.
Hector
Yeah.
and Menelaus and Patroclus, like there was so much going on with the characters in this confined space. And I think that because it's kind of like a bottled episode, is like everything is stewing and grinding
Mhm.
against each other to come out as something greater. And that
Yeah.
greatness is the forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just, I liked it so
Yeah.
much better.
I think
I don't.
yeah.
I think it might be a little concerning that I like a book about war more than I like a book about homecoming.
Well, here's I was this was just reminding me of that conversation we had in text the other day about history, and I think this also helps kind of like give credence to that. Like you enjoy the macro of
I
stories
do.
more. You like the overarching like this is the bigger picture, this is the bigger interpersonal struggles or the bigger social struggles. And I'm much
And
more
how do the
fascinated.
details fit into the macro?
Yeah,
And
and
you really focus. I think this is why I like talking to you so
yeah.
much.
I like
Is
the
you
micro. Yeah.
yeah.
I like the
We
looking
both
at one
approach it
person.
very differently.
Mhm.
I mean, we're
Mhm.
both looking at the whole picture, but we both approach it so differently.
We
Where it's like
do. We do.
I go macro to micro, and you go micro to
I
macro.
do. I do. That's so I really like that we're kind of
There's a
figuring that out
lot
about ourselves.
to that point. There's a lot of micro in the Odyssey
Mhm.
that like you can kind of isolate certain
Mhm.
incidents. And
Yeah.
with the Iliad, it's kind of all jumbled into one
Yes.
big thing
Yes,
because the Trojan War
you can't
that you
disentangle
really
it.
have to see how
Yep.
does this fit into the over. This makes a
Yes.
lot more
Yes, you
sense.
kind of can't take anything from the Iliad out of context. It all really
You can't.
matters. And the Odyssey is
It does.
different. You can pick out little bits and parts and be like, this is almost its own isolated story,
Yeah.
which is fascinating to me.
Also, I think this is something that bothers me about the Odyssey is I really don't feel Odysseus actually has much of a character
Oh
arc.
God, no, he
Like
does not.
he feels like the same person, and
Yeah,
everyone else around him gets
yeah,
kind of a character arc. Like Telemachus grows,
yeah.
Penelope
Mhm,
gets her arc
mhm.
of being a steadfast wife. I
Yeah,
mean, even Achilles gets
yeah,
more
right.
character development than
Yeah,
Odysseus.
he really does.
And he's dead.
He's dead. Yeah, I feel
Um,
like Odysseus was really a one-dimensional kind of like
he
quote unquote the
is.
perfect hero kind of guy. Like he really didn't have much other than like I have a goddess who supports me and I'm really really smart and really really hot. Like
He felt like a
he
one-dimensional character.
yeah,
I
he
think
really
that's what
didn't
bothers me most about the
mhm
Odyssey.
mhm. I
And maybe that's why
yeah,
it's easier to read.
that's fair. I think I really
Is to have
prefer
kind of this character in
yeah.
it's really the people around him that define the story.
Yeah, that is very true. It's the people, it's the settings, it's everything else around him, and he just sort of moves through it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I really enjoy the depiction and personality of the Odysseus from Epic a lot more than the original source material.
I think the person really gave him a glow up.
Oh, he gave everyone a glow up, including
Actual depth of character.
he gave everyone a glow up, including the villains. Like Antinous, oh, he's evil, but his voice actor is impeccable. incredible voice. And I'm like, dang it.
I like that. I actually genuinely like that Odysseus is just straight up evil.
He's just so
Because,
bad.
and not to say, and obviously this is going to counter a lot of what I just said about the Iliad. It's like,
Yeah.
the Iliad is such a gray area for everyone.
Yes.
Because you have this constant battle of right and wrong along with duty.
I think
and you kind of have this sense of, maybe that's why I like Hector. Hector reminds me a lot of Faramir in Lord of the Rings.
I think you mentioned this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got so much, like, integrity.
Duty.
And
He has so much integrity, and he fights for the safety of his city and his father. But his father chooses... Oh my gosh, I just covered a whole new level of the Iliad and why it's like Lord of the Rings.
Oh god. All right. Well, we can hash that out later. I will say the only true villain I think of the Iliad is Paris.
Yes.
I think he's the only villain.
But you have a lot more morally grave ground in the Iliad.
Yeah.
And in the Odyssey, there's a very clear...
Like, here's the bad guys, here's the good guys.
And not necessarily when Odysseus is traveling with his crew, there is that tension between him and his crew, and you have that kind of moral gray ground.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's very clear cut of who you're supposed to root for. And there's not quite as much left to interpretation.
No, I agree.
Maybe that's why I like the survival bit a bit more, is there's more tension. There's not a lot of tension.
No, I think also, like, I think...
There is a lot of, I do see a lot of Shakespearean, like, structure in the Odyssey, in the sense of playing along the lines of what the reader knows versus what the audience, like, versus
a lot of dramatic irony of, like, we know it's Odysseus, no one else knows, and, like, we can kind of see how these things play out.
And even with the dead characters in their recounts of Troy and all that shit. All that. There's just a lot of, like, previous knowledge that is played on in the Odyssey.
Yes. A lot of building.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun, though. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I actually put it on my top reads so far this year.
Oh, nice.
Even though I had less enjoyment of it than the Iliad, I appreciate this is more appreciative love. Like, like, it's not that it's like, this is why I can't rate books. I don't rate books. No. And this is why.
Yeah.
It's like, if I were to rate on a 5, like, if I were to use the 5-star rating scale on Good, this would probably be like a 3.5, maybe a 4-star for me. And the Iliad's a 5-star. Would be a 5-star, just based purely on enjoyment. But there's so much more to it that I'm thinking about, and this is why I really enjoy reading classics, is there's more that I'm thinking about, there's more that I'm engaging with, and that really builds on my reading experience. Yeah. So there's more to it, and more that I appreciate, which is why I'm like, this would go on my top reads. Like, I can't not put this on my top reads.
No, it's a classic for a reason. It's so much of it holds true in our life. Yeah. And you can connect it to so much.
The main takeaway from the Odyssey, the ultimate theme of the Odyssey, is manners maketh the man.
Be a good host. You're a good guest.
Manners maketh the man.
And do not.
That is the theme of the. I were to boil down the Odyssey to one sentence.
Yeah. Other important note, though, always give offerings to the gods, or they might get very pissy and leave you in the ocean for 20 years. Yeah. Very important. Do your offerings to the gods.
Really, this makes me really happy to be a Christian.
Oh, man. Yeah. Having mercurial pantheon deities is gotta be stressful. Gotta be
Oh my god.
stressful. The
Like you said
anxiety.
earlier, it's like there's just you live life with just this knowledge that you could be struck down at any moment because a god was displeased with something you did.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note.
Monotheism's the way to go in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna go for a religion,
You're right. If you're gonna be religious, pick one with one god. Keep it easy. Keep it simple. And like a nice god, you know? By and large, the Christian god is pretty cool. If you're gonna pick one, he's pretty nice.
I think the Christian God is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They do a good.
Yeah, as long as you kind of maybe read between the lines in First Testament, or the First Testament, because
Old Testament.
Old Testament's a little shaky, but New Testament, God.
Oh my gosh, there was actually a reel I saw. I don't know if I sent it to you or not. It was the Bible out of context. I for sure sent it.
I've seen a couple of those. I love those. All right,
it's so funny.
Let's not get on a random rant about the Bible. I do gotta feed my kitties. So we don't know exactly what we're reading next. We're considering.
That's the chore for next episode.
Yeah.
We have a filler episode coming up in 2 weeks.
And we're gonna try to figure out.
Our next read.
Yeah.
Right now, I think we need to let this sit.
We do. We need to let Homer rest for a bit.
Yeah, we're gonna let this sit. Let it stew.
Let it process, you know?
Yeah. And then so we are going to read the Aeneid at some point.
We will.
It's just we kind of need a book in between.
We need a buffer. A good feel buffer.
It's probably going to be short.
Yeah.
It's probably going to take us only a few sessions, like a few conversations.
Yeah.
Something shorter. There will be a buffer between Homer and Virgil.
Oh, yeah. All right. We'll see you guys next time. We're gonna figure that out, what we're gonna read next. And then we're gonna move on to a new book. Exciting. All right.
I'm excited.
Thank you guys for listening, if you're in the present or the future, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Happy reading.